welcome back to the Press Star Podcast. I'm your host Vic, aka Mr. Never Chillin', and of course this is episode number 32, and of course I'm joined by my co-host Roger.
Hey guys, how you doing this week?
So what's going on, Roger? Happy New Year to you and everyone else in our community.
Happy New Year to everyone. Doing pretty good. It's been a nice short week really at work. Been a little busy, but for gaming, having a great time. Got picked up a bunch of new games after Christmas this year with some money that some people had given me.
Hmm.
I got myself Ghost of Tsushima. I got myself I got the new Mario Party. I got myself some other small games like Ni no Kuni, which is a JRPG. So I'm really enjoying playing on the PS5 right now. Been spending a lot of time with my wife down here playing a bunch of different games. I'm hoping this year with my New Year's resolution to hopefully beat a new game,
Hmm.
one new game every week this year. That's kind of my goal is see if I can get like
That's
somewhere
a
around 50 games beat.
okay. Yeah, that's a very ambitious goal for sure. My goal last year was to beat at least one game a month, and I accomplished
Hmm.
that, and then some. I beat about like 14, I think, 14 or 15 games last year, so I was really excited. But I'm ready to get going this year for sure because there's a lot of games coming out. We got a huge year of 2020. This will probably be one of the biggest years in gaming that we've seen, with a lot of good games coming out. Not no bullshit small games
Well,
like.
and that's the other thing. We're definitely looking at the post-COVID going into more
Hmm.
of a permanent working from home for tons of people across the United States as well as the world. So we're looking at people who are now we're in full swing of game dev, things that have been pushed back a year, 2 years. We're going to see them this year.
Hmm.
2022 is a huge year. We're going to see things like we've got Halo Infinite has was released at the end of last year. We're going to see a lot of content drops for that. We're going to see Bayonetta 3 coming out. We've got God of War Ragnarok. We've got Rainbow Six's new game coming out in the next few months here. So
No,
we've got a
that
ton of
comes out
games.
this month actually.
Yeah, sorry, this month. So we've got a lot of stuff, some things, a lot of things without release dates, but I think we're going to see games come out with release dates months or 2 months before they come
Hmm.
out. So it's going to be a lot of spontaneous releases over and over
Right.
and over again. But I'm definitely expecting a really busy year in gaming.
Right. And yeah, next week our plan is to do like another one of those tier lists and rank our anticipation for these games and how excited we are for a lot of these games that come out. So definitely come check us out next week for that. But Roger, what have you been playing lately?
So as I said before, I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima is like the big one that's kind of been taking up my time. It's a pretty cool game. I actually got it on the PS5 instead of getting it on the PS4 because I believe it was also on the PS4.
Hmm.
I enjoy it, but honestly, it wasn't what I was expecting. It feels in some aspects kind of Ubisoft-esque.
Hmm.
But I do love the world, the combat. It feels very fun and enjoyable, so I'm not totally upset, but it does feel very wide open. So like the story is very much a go here, do a side mission, go here, do a side mission, but it feels like you get a little bit more decisions with what you get to do. But I beat Ratchet and Clank. That was pretty fun so far. I started Deathloop. That was quite
Hmm.
different than I expected it to be because I didn't look anything up for it. I just jumped straight in and wasn't realizing that, instead of it being like one concurrent playthrough, you stop your day. So you get four playthroughs and you choose one of the zones to go to during one of the four openings during the day. So it's
Right.
like, well, do I play this place in the morning, the midday, the afternoon, or the evening? And then
Right.
after you run out of time, it restarts again. And I also, I kind of went in blind not knowing that people can come into your game and sabotage
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So,
I was there when you started it, and I was like, okay, like it played a lot differently than I was expecting too. Like I was following some of the trailers and a little bit of gameplay here and there, but understanding it now from the beginning, it was just like, all right, cool. Yeah, this actually looks really cool, and I can't wait to
you
check it
know,
out once it comes to Xbox because it does
that's
come.
why, yeah.
Yeah, it'll come to Game Pass in a year's time, so I'm not in any rush to get it. So whenever it drops, it's definitely gonna be
Whenever
one of
it's
those
free.
games. Yeah, whenever I get it,
Yeah.
it's definitely being played, 1,000%.
No,
But
I
yeah,
agree.
but what about Halo? I know you recently beat Halo as well. What did you think of that? The campaign and all.
So Halo Infinite, I actually really, really liked. I'll eat my words. I think Halo Infinite, it wasn't a flop by any means. I'm a little upset we haven't seen Forge yet. co-op campaign. So there are a lot of features that I loved from Halo that we kind of missed out on. But the fact that we got a campaign that felt like a traditional campaign was one of the biggest things for me because I was expecting to get Ubisoft, Halo in Ubisoft, and we didn't, which is really, 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 really nice. I was actually super surprised to hear that they were like, oh, we cut a bunch of the open world experience because of it. And I was like, great,
Yeah.
awesome. I'm glad you cut a shit ton of it because they were like, we ran out of time. And I was like, good. Good. I'm glad you ran out of time because the experience was better without all the extra crap.
Hmm.
It actually felt like the campaign felt useful and it felt good. I'm ready for the next continuation of the story now,
Hmm.
which, you know, is going to be a while.
Well, the whole idea is they're making Halo Infinite like more of like a
Yeah.
platform. So now they'll start adding like hopefully like story mode DLC to
Yeah.
this platform now and just build off of it as
Where
they
the
go.
story just keeps going,
Yeah, as
we
opposed to
we
making
now
a whole
move
new
on to the
game.
next zone.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which is an interesting, ambitious goal. It kind of feels like an MMO in that sense, but I'm actually really excited for something like that because I would love a rolling update. I don't want to buy a new game every time, which luckily this is on Game Pass, but I was super happy about it.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, y'all. I got a cough that I'm still trying to get over since November 7th. Not COVID at least, thank goodness.
But so, Vic, what have you been playing?
So I recently beat Guardians of the Galaxy, and boy, was that a hell of a game. You gotta play it.
Mm,
I know you haven't checked it out yet, but Guardians of the Galaxy was a lot of fun. It was way more than I was anticipating in that kind of game, and the fact that it popped up in E3 in the summertime of 2021, came out in end of October, and then playing through it, I was just like, wow, this is incredible.
yeah, it's a Square Enix success. It was made by Square Enix, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of their success stories, which is really nice. I'm glad to see that an RPG game out of Square Enix didn't flop because lately they've been kind of missing the mark.
Yeah, it was made by their Eldos in Montreal studio.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're usually pretty good when it comes to games. They've made well, they kind of helped in that the Marvel's Avengers, which kind of flopped, but they helped out with Shadow the Tomb Raider, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which was a pretty good game as well. So they have a pretty good track record, other than the Marvel game, unfortunately. And then other game, obviously we're steady pace on Valorant. Everybody knows that, and got back up to Bronze 3. Season's ending here soon, so maybe I can end the season on Silver 1. Just depends on how our games
yeah.
go.
We're
Um,
expecting a new champ hopefully next week or the week after. We got her name, but we got no indication of her abilities. So
right,
I'm excited. I'm hoping the new season brings some changes. Maybe this agent will mix up the balance, but I'm hoping we don't get to a point where the roster is too full.
right. I just also don't want to like have a whole roster full of useless characters. Like I need a roster where like, damn, like who do I pick? Like each map has a meaning. Each combination
Yeah,
of champs have a meaning and a more of a purpose. Like that's when you know you have a really balanced game. Is when you don't know when to pick, who to pick, how to pick, and it makes
yeah.
sure it includes everybody.
Well, and that's the thing Riot has a problem with. They have over 100 champions now in League of Legends, and you only get to choose 5 on your team. So what do when you have 100 champions,
Right,
there's only a select few, really, a handful that are actually viable anymore. So I'm expecting us to we're not going to get a band pick phase most likely. But hopefully we'll see a map selection a
yeah,
roster
hopefully,
soon where we can say, which map does both teams want to play.
right. Um, But in regards to games I've been playing, I've been dabbling in Forza still. Every once in a while, I'll pop in for like a race or two. It's a nice game that I can just pick up, play for a few minutes, and hop off. I
Yeah.
actually been playing Pokemon Sun for the first time on my DS. I was just in a random mood. I was like, I want to play a Pokemon game. It's been forever since I played a Pokemon game, and I was just like, yeah, you know what? Because it's interesting. I picked up watching the TV show again, like the original one, the Indigo League, and I was like, man, so many memories. Like I remember sitting there watching them on the VHS tapes back in the day,
Yeah.
or like Saturday morning cartoons and stuff like that. And it's just like, man, reminiscent of Pokemon. Pokemon's been around forever, dude. Our entire life, Pokemon has been there, and it's been a lot of fun. And actually, I just picked up Pokemon Diamond for the Switch here, so I'm like, really excited to play that. Just got it today. But also started Halo Infinite. A lot of fun. I'm really enjoying it. Just got into the open world part of the game where you play through the first part of it and you beat your first boss and you open up and I took over a couple bases, rescued a few groups of Marines, and like I felt like that had purpose. Like I feel like the shit that you do in that game isn't like meaningless. Like you're really going out to free those troops, and when you free those troops, they don't just stand there in that area like most games did. Like in Far Cry, when I played Far Cry 6 recently, which I thought was a great game and everything I felt meaningful, but whenever I freed people, they didn't come with me. They didn't go do other shit with me. If I freed those Marines hopped in the Warthog with me and we went on and took over the
Yeah.
next base or whatever. Like it felt like I everything I did had a purpose. And it was a lot
Yeah.
of fun. I'm
Yeah,
really
at some
excited to play
point
through
it
it.
felt like, at some point you feel like it stops feeling that way, but in the beginning it's one of those moments where you're like, "Oh, everything is gone. It's all is lost. We've been defeated."
Yeah.
But then you're coming back.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to play through that and beat that. I know the story only takes like 10 to 14 hours. It is one of the longer Halo campaigns, but that's gonna be a game that I can quickly get through because I'm really excited to hop into the Gunk, which one of our friends beat already because that game just dropped not too long ago. But that's a quick game; it's like 4 hours long, so I'm really excited for
Yeah.
that because there's going to be a whole slew of games coming out early 2022 as well. Between January and March, we have like a shit ton of games. So we
Yeah.
got to play through these games quick if we want to keep up with them. But nonetheless, man, let's get into our topics this week. We're gonna start off here with game releases. Not much in the first week here of the new year. We just got Deep Rock Galactic. It's been out on PC. It's on Game Pass, Xbox, all that. But it's coming to PS4, PS5 on January 4th. It's a guaranteed pickup. Honestly, you should definitely pick this up. Because Roger, I know this is one of your favorite games that you played recently. What do you think and what do you recommend to the community on this one?
So if you've never played Deep Rock Galactic and you got at least one or two friends who want to play, it's definitely worth it. I would suggest picking it up. It's a free game on PS4 and PS5 because it's with their PlayStation Plus games for January. So definitely if you have PS Plus, grab it, play it. You might really enjoy it. It's not like a story-driven game or anything. It's just sort of like drop in, play a few silly missions for an hour and you're done.
Yeah, and the fact that it's procedurally generated, so like every single playthrough is never, it's not even going to be close to being the same.
Yeah.
And you can explore and have fun with friends, and then you can even have a couple beers on your ship after. Some weird
Yeah,
shit.
it's a
Like
little silly.
it's a little goofy, but it's definitely an interesting game.
No, I agree. Another thing that's coming out this week, if you missed it in November, Halo Infinite, the Tenrai event is coming back again. Make sure if you want that samurai armor that you tune in and play Halo Infinite this week. Make sure you complete your challenges. It is going to be a busy week. I believe the event is still going to include the Fiesta game mode. So if you enjoyed it, it's back for another week.
Hopefully they add something else to it as well, and not just that game mode this time around.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. I was, it would be cool if they added a sword style game mode, a sword dueling game mode, because it's samurai armor. Where's
Right.
my sword duels?
Yeah. Where's my sword duels? Who has? Never
Yeah,
mind.
no, but I definitely, if you want to check it out, make sure you get in. It only lasts a week. It's from Tuesday to Tuesday.
Right.
So, without further ado, gaming news and rumors for the first week of January. So we got an announcement about Mass Effect. So Vic, you want to tell us about new good news about Mass Effect?
Right. So this carries off of our episode 2 weeks ago, where we think a lot of developers might start using this engine. Mass Effect's next entry is supposed to apparently be using the Unreal Engine 5, which it feels like a no-brainer at this point. Unreal Engine 5 has
Yeah.
proven to be like literally the next level, the next generation of development
If
tools.
you want to make a CGI movie, use Unreal Engine 5. You want to make a sexy looking game, Unreal Engine 5. Honestly, we're getting to the point where it's really silly to be using your own engine unless it really can't do it like if you're making a free, like um a first person style game or anything top down behind your character, want to make it look realistic. Unreal Engine 5 is the way to go anymore. Unless you're making like a side scroller or some kind of strategy game that's, unique in some way, you might want to just look at Unreal Engine 5. Why dump all the time and effort into your own engine when you have all these beautiful tools? We only saw a demo, what, 4 years ago now for Unreal Engine 5, and it blew everyone away.
Yeah, I mean, if anything's to go off of what we've seen in that Matrix Unreal Engine 5 experience, if that's not
Mm.
an example of what that engine can really do, I don't know what it is. And honestly, it's pretty cool though to see Mass Effect go back to the Unreal Engine because the first three entries actually did use Unreal Engine 3, and then when they made Andromeda, they went to Frostbite Engine 3, which we
There's
all.
there's only there's only three Mass Effects. Being
Yeah,
honest.
no, fair enough. But that was when they switched from Unreal Engine 3, they went to Frostbite 3, which is EA's engine, which is a pretty good engine, but the Unreal Engine 5 is going to blow anything EA makes out of the
Out of the
water.
water.
So,
Exactly.
so I'm really excited to see that they're back on board with the Unreal Engine 5, and it's going to be super successful. I think it's looking beautiful, it's working really well, and there's going to be a lot of companies that'll be like, "Yo, we're going to use that engine."
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you on that one. So, talking about really beautiful games, works of art, movies, Kojima has now announced that he's working on two new games. Kojima Studios is working on a large title, one large title, and a smaller title. They plan to make Kojima said on his Twitter that his goal now is to make an experience that helps blur the line of entertainment. Is it a game? Is it a movie? Why isn't it both?
Right. And that reminds me of the Quantum Break game a few years back on Xbox, the Xbox exclusive made by Remedy that I was talking to you about,
Mhm.
where like it's a game, but after each level of your game, there would be a TV show that would play, and each scene or TV show that you've seen was different depending on the choices that you made in the game. So I thought that was really cool. So I wonder if he's going to do something similar in that sense, where like whatever you do in the game is going to be have consequences in your show or movie that you're kind of more or
Yeah.
less building, and that was really cool. I wish we would have more games like that. But yeah, Hideo Kojima has, like he said, he has two new games coming out. One of them is a big title, and one of them is rather small. But we all know that there's been one in rumors that's in talks with Xbox. I wonder if this is an Xbox exclusive that he's making, and I don't even know what the hell it could be because he's all over the place. His mind is one of the most creative people, and you just never know what you're going to get out of him.
Yeah, I think he's always made very interesting and unique games. They've not always been the best games, but they have always been a start to something big. We're always excited. The community's always ready for something from him. So to have two new titles coming out, I'm really excited to see what we're gonna get.
Yeah, do you have any guesses where he could go with this at all?
Honestly, I think we're gonna see a horror game coming up here soon. Some sort of new horror game. I think he's looking to make blur the line between what is a video game and what is a movie when it comes to the horror experience. I'm hoping that's what we're gonna see out of his studio. Because we've been kind of in the we've kind of been missing those enthralling stories from Kojima lately. It
Right,
feels like some of his games have been like too ambitious.
right. Like Death Stranding was way,
Ambitious.
yeah, it was very ambitious. There was a lot to it, and it turned out just to be more of like a walking simulator. But it's cool to see that they're still adding content. They're still doing updates to that game. So the game wasn't like a super success, but it also wasn't a flop. Like it's a critically acclaimed game. It's doing really well.
Yeah.
And
So
I'd be eager to see if he comes out with a Silent Hill game, like
I
or something
honestly I
along
don't
that
know
line.
if we're gonna see a Silent Hill game because I don't know if he has the rights to Silent Hill, so that's the issue at hand. But we may see a game where he can reboot the Silent Hill successor, essentially a spiritual successor to his Silent
Yeah,
Hill.
because Konami still owns the rights to Silent Hill, but
Yeah.
they can always make some amends because obviously Konami and Kojima made that their Fallout a few years back, so that'd be
But
pretty cool.
they didn't split amicably, so the likelihood of a Silent Hill reboot from Kojima is next to zero. Seeing what we're going to see as a spiritual successor,
Hmm.
something new.
Like Back for Blood,
Yeah,
because they
exactly.
they didn't have the rights to
You
Left 4 Dead
you
anymore.
lose your rights. You sometimes still want to make a spiritual successor. What you do, you just make a new game, call it something new, do something new.
Right. So yeah, we're definitely be something that we follow over the next couple months, see where this lands. But one of some bigger news here, we got Remedy Games news. They apparently signed a global development license and distribution agreement with Tencent, which is another big gaming corporation, for a
Tencent
cooperative.
is the just so for our viewers to help out here. Tencent is actually the biggest distributor for video games in the East.
Hmm.
Tencent is a mobile. It is the king of mobile. So
Hmm.
if you are to make a game in the East that goes on the mobile market, you deal with Tencent.
Right. And apparently their agreement is for a cooperative multiplayer game codenamed Vanguard. The game codenamed Vanguard. This is all coming from Remedy's website. Remedy's original intellectual property is a free-to-play cooperative PvE shooter that combines Remedy's narrative expertise and action gameplay into an immersive multiplayer experience. The game is developed with the Unreal Engine 5 for PC and consoles. Remedy will develop and publish the game worldwide, excluding selected Asian markets where Tencent will localize and publish the game themselves. So
Yes.
it just allows them to extend and get into markets that they may or may not have been able to. And this sounds great. This is building off of that news that we were talking about, where Remedy has a game that's unannounced. Don't really have that many details in regards to, but now we have a little bit more unannounced, and it sounds interesting. I'm really curious to see how what the heck this game's going to be, because this doesn't sound like their normal supernatural kind of game. Granted, they do got Crossfire X coming out, but what kind of game is this? Like, is this going to be part of that um, Alan Wake Control universe, or is this something
Well,
different?
the weird thing we're looking at here is it's going to be a game that can be both on PC, console, and phone. So the game can't be super in depth because it's going to be on the phone. It
Right.
has to be pretty dumbed down at some point. So I'm expecting we're going to see some sort of money sink kind of game, a game where we can, Fortnite but it's cooperative kind of thing.
Hmm.
Maybe you fight off enemies or zombies or something because we dealt with the undead in Alan Wake. We deal with alien style creatures in Control.
Hmm.
So it's probably going to be some sort of either defense game where you're trying to hold off hordes of enemies for a while. They're going to have microtransactions most likely, things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm really excited, man. Anything that has anything to do with Remedy, I'm super excited for sure.
Thanks for the follow, Panda Gaming, and welcome.
I actually got to move those because that's not in the right spot.
So,
Thanks
um,
for the follow.
Remedy is definitely going to give us something, but I don't think it's going to be anything super related to what we're already dealing with now, and it's going to probably be very mobile-esque.
Yeah,
So,
unfortunate.
staying within our Asian markets here, PlayStation has released their list of PlayStation Plus games for January. We're going to be seeing three new games. We talked about Deep Rock Galactic already, but we're also going to see Dirt 5 as well as Persona 5 Strikers, which are Dirt 5 is about a year old now, I think,
Yeah,
or more.
it launched with the Series X,
Okay, so yeah,
which is a really next gen racing game. It looks really beautiful
yeah,
because
it
it was one of
looks
the ones that
very good.
it was showcasing what 4K 120 can actually really look like.
Hmm. And then we've got Persona 5 Strikers, which is the sequel to Persona 5, which is their fighting game that traditionally comes out after they do one of their Persona games. On the flip side, though, looking at Xbox, we have our games with gold for January. We have four games. They're very Xbox arcade-esque. We've got what's called Neuro Voider. We've got Aground, Radiant Silvergun, and Space Invaders Infinity Genre. So Space Invaders Infinity Genre is essentially Space Invaders, but mixed with a uh, one of the traditional fighting pilot games where you sit top down shooting straight ahead, a Toho-esque style game. We're looking at Neurovoider. Neurovoider is going to be a 1 to 4 co-op procedurally generated roguelike dungeon game where you take over robots and you build a robot and you jump into a map and you just shoot a bunch of guns.
Yeah.
Aground is a 2D side-scrolling Minecraft clone. It looks similar to classic games like Dig Dug, I think is one of the titles. So
Isn't like it
it's
Terraria almost?
I would say it's more like Minecraft than Terraria, but yeah, it's essentially like Minecraft and Terraria had a baby and it was really, really bad. So it looks pretty rough. It takes traditional gameplay elements from games from the early 2000s, if not the late 90s. And it doesn't seem to add very much to the genre. Then lastly, we've got Radiant Silvergun, which is just another top-down shooter game. A traditional Toho style game, I believe.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy. Basically,
And
Xbox is more worried about Game Pass, So these are just
Yeah.
like bonus games that are just keeping the preserving games for a while and just giving you the rights to them. Like here, free
Well,
games, you own these.
yeah, and Radiant Silvergun, for example, is what we're talking about. It's preserving a game. It's a 98 a game released in 98 for the Sega Saturn. So
Yep. And then it
it's
came to the 360 via the arcade at that time.
exactly. So it's just their way of continually releasing games they've already had before because they have Game Pass at this point. Xbox games with gold is kind of just a legacy thing that we've been dragging along for a few years now that
Right.
maybe it's not worth it anymore. So, talking about legacy games, though,
Yep.
we just found out GoldenEye double oh 007 has released achievements. There were achievements that were leaked for Xbox. Vic, you want to tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so Rare is owned by Microsoft. Rare also was the original creators of GoldenEye 007 for the 64, and now it only makes sense. The 2022 is the 60th anniversary of James Bond, so what's a better way to celebrate James Bond's 60th anniversary other than bringing their most successful game to Xbox, man. I wonder if this is going to be an Xbox exclusive or is this going to be a cross-platform or whatever, but this is really
I'm
cool to
hoping
see.
we're going to see it on PC and Game Pass as well. Honestly, I could see GoldenEye becoming a very niche game for quite a few years if we get a GoldenEye released on PC through Game Pass. And this is a perfect way for them to only continue to boost the sales of Game Pass because if this game comes to Game Pass, we're going to be looking at a huge boom, I think, of a few thousand
Yeah.
sales instantly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Golden
Blackjack. We're going to be seeing GoldenEye potentially on either Xbox or PC or both through Game Pass, as Rare is owned by Microsoft.
Right, and then with the achievements that were leaked, supposed to be bringing multiplayer and the campaign, so that's even exciting. You imagine playing the multiplayer today with a better controller than the 64, like that's gonna
Yeah,
be fun to just try and relive. I'm like, yo, like this is crazy. A lot of throwback memories here.
no, definitely. I'm excited to hopefully see something out of this, but
Hmm.
this was a leak, so who knows? It may have just been like a brainchild that never came to fruition. But
Yeah.
last thing here that we have in the Xbox world, one of Xbox's studios, Undead Labs, they're creating a new studio. It's a support studio that will be based out of Orlando. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Undead Labs?
Yeah, so Undead Labs is making this supporting studio that's not only helping them, but their goal is to also be a supporting studio for all of the other Microsoft studios. They're up to what 23 now. They're going to
Yeah,
need that additional help for like some of them that need that help. You know what we talked about with NXL, where they reached out to Square Enix and I forget who we talked about. I'm drawing a blank, but it's going to help them. And what's pretty cool is that they're going to be mainly helping out with like directing the animation in Unreal Engine 5 for State of Decay 3, and then fostering in cross studio animation technology initiatives across the Xbox Game Studios. So it just allows them to be able to help out everyone, and just I love it because why own all these studios if you don't help each other? Like you got
well,
all these
and
resources.
that's the thing. Studios have always worked together. People always outsource technologies to somebody who knows better. But, um, oop, something wrong with the stream there, Laser? But no,
I
I
saw a bit up
agree.
on mine.
Yeah, so I'm with this, we're going to definitely be seeing. I think it'll help foster talent. So studios aren't kind of left in the dark doing all their work themselves because, especially being owned by Microsoft, it's only I think going to add to the future of Microsoft Studios. So I'm excited to see where we go with this, especially since I'm excited for State of Decay 3.
Yeah, because I know you really enjoyed State of Decay 2. It was fun when I was playing through. I would love to maybe check it back out again and play through it. And because like I feel like I jumped into one and I was just like, man, there's just so much wrong with this game. And then
Yeah.
I never even gave two a chance. And I love zombie games. And then it was just like hopped into two and I was just like, I got too much shit going on. I'm trying to play too many games. This isn't a game that I can really focus in on. And I don't know if they'll have any connections to two and three, but maybe I got to play two before three drops, and I'm thinking three may drop this year. It has no announcement yet on that.
Yeah.
We just got a trailer and announcement like, hey, it's
But
coming
it
out.
and that's kind of the way the industry has been working lately. We're not going to get like a year in advance or 6 months in advance. We're probably going to get like a 2, 3 month notice. They're going to be like, "Hey, coming to Game Pass. State of Decay 3.
Next week, y'all.
Cool.
That'll
All
be
right.
crazy. It's just like Fallout. Remember when Fallout did that shit? Like Shadow released, they were like, and Fallout's announced, and it's coming out in 2 months. Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it could have used a little more time, but yeah, no, exactly. I'm excited because this year we may see some really good releases that we don't even know are coming yet. So, with that being said, I think we should transition here to our last topic of the week. The deep freeze moment of the week, Vic. What are your top three gaming genres, and what was your favorite game from that genre?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna start off first here. Obviously, my first one is going to be a first-person shooter, just because that's probably my most played genre ever, like all time. And I feel like
Yep.
the most time that I've ever spent in a genre specifically for that one would probably be Call of Duty. Call of Duty was probably my favorite. It's the one I invested probably the most time into, and I
What was
continue to
the
play.
best Call of Duty?
The best Call of Duty, man, Modern Warfare 2 or 3. Like that, that's a tough one, man. I would say Modern Warfare 3. Modern Warfare 3 was probably the one I spent the most time in, where I was probably the best in as well. And I'm super excited to see if Call of Duty can go back, because it's been falling apart. Like Vanguard has been a terrible disaster, and it's only getting worse. And even the battle right, Warzone's garbage. The content's garbage. Everything about Vanguard is just
Yeah.
garbage. And this year is supposed to be Modern Warfare 2. It's a sequel to the 2019's Modern Warfare, so we'll see how this plays out. I feel like Infinity Ward, like to me, never fails. Like Modern Warfare 2019, a lot of fun. Nothing wrong with that game. And then like even before that, their game was what, Infinite Warfare. Yes, it was a jetpack game. Wasn't a huge fan of it, but it was to me the best one out of the three jetpack games we had. So it's just like we'll see. So hopefully they go back to the roots. But
No. Yeah,
what's
I'm
yours?
with you. So I'm gonna tag along and say, yeah, first person shooters was one of my core genres. I think almost everyone has to like a first person shooter at some point in their life. It doesn't matter. You'll find one out there that you're like, this was the game, whether it was traditional games like Quake or you had Duke Nukem or you had Doom. You know, we had all these great games over the years, but for me, the crucial staple had to be Halo, and more
Mm-hmm.
specifically Halo 3. Halo 3 would have had to been my favorite one. We had Forge, we had like the crescendo to a story that we've been building up for years. It it was the culmination of everything I wanted, and it didn't feel like they were still trying to introduce new features. They were like, how can we refine the gameplay of 1 and 2 to make it better? Not what can we add?
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't know if you checked it out yet, where that 6-part documentary series by Microsoft for the 20th anniversary of Xbox, and they really talk about how Halo almost didn't even come because it was falling apart. It had really bad reception, and like when they were first previewing it, it was like really glitchy and laggy, and frame rates were dropping like horrendously, and like we almost didn't get Halo. And you imagine that shit? Like if we didn't get Halo, Xbox
Yeah.
might not be around still.
They would they would not have Xbox Game Studios. We would not have Xbox Gaming. We would have Microsoft, and we would have Microsoft Studios, and it would be Flight Simulator, and that would be as far as we probably got.
Yeah, that's crazy to see the impact of just one game.
And
Cause
not only that, the entire genre of first person shooters would be completely different, as well as many other genres in general. We owe a lot to the development of Halo and the push for that PC and console gaming, because I think without Halo, we wouldn't have the console gaming we have today.
oh yeah, yeah for sure.
So, all right, I'm gonna give you my second one then.
Okay.
So for me, I'm a traditional gameplay guy. I love JRPGs. The the Asian markets were the first to really take off with gaming in general. We see the Sega, we see the Nintendo, we see all these great consoles. And for me, JRPGs were the game. They were where story became introduced. It's where,
Hmm.
D&D the West met the medieval style traditional story of the Eastern market. So I really liked JRPGs. They were my bread and butter growing up, whether it was Legend of Zelda, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, but more specifically, the game that stands out to me above any other game is gotta be Final Fantasy X. That game to me was the culmination of what I thought a JRPG should be. It may not have been the best,
Hmm.
but it definitely had things I liked. It had a it had story content, it had bonus content, it had things before and after. It had a way of developing a character so you didn't have to play the character how they wanted you to play it. You could play the character any way you wanted. You just had to find the items to develop your character.
Right. Yeah.
What about you, Vic?
My second would probably have to be let's go with sandbox games. I know it's more of like a newer genre, I guess you would say, in the past 8 to 10 years, roughly. I guess.
Hmm.
And I'm saying sandbox because of the amount of time that I have invested myself into playing Minecraft. Like, Minecraft really helped me become really creative because I wanted to be an architect at one point. What better
Hmm.
game to be an architect in is Minecraft? Like, you can literally just build whatever the hell you want. Thanks for the host, JD. Um, and it's just like, hey, Minecraft has such an impact just on me, not just on me, but the world. Minecraft is arguably one of the greatest games of all time. We've already talked about that, and
Yeah.
it's just incredible to see the success of Minecraft from then till now and the future with Minecraft. They have shit
Well,
laid out for that game.
and I think it doesn't just begin with Minecraft because we have to look back a little bit with
Hmm.
the sandbox genre and also take a look at actual modding and the ability for communities to build their own maps. Like Warcraft 3, StarCraft,
Yeah.
these games had engines where you could build your own maps, game mode. People recreated entire games. We wouldn't have games like League of Legends or Defense of the Ancients if it we wouldn't have Dota without Warcraft. And these games introduce the ability to build your own content. And
Right.
I think sandboxes are the next evolution of that. We wouldn't have sandboxes, I think, if we didn't have things like Halo Forge.
Right.
Halo 3
Yeah. Yeah.
Forge
That was going to be my
built
next point
built
within Sandbox. You know how much time did we spend playing Halo Forge on Halo 3 Forge specifically?
I don't
Countless
like to talk
hours.
about how many hours
Right, like
I spent
like
in that.
Halo 3 and Call of Duty World at War because of zombies were the only two reasons why I transitioned from a PlayStation to an Xbox because I wanted to play Halo so I got so goddamn bad all the time. Like I came over to your house on the weekends and shit like when we didn't have school or whatever, but it's just like I still wanted to play throughout the week. So it
Yeah.
was just like I needed a 360 now.
And not only that, I think the other thing to really talk about here as well is like there are some sandbox games that predated Minecraft that were literally sandbox games, not just games that had sandboxes. So Gary's Mod was the Valve's engine for building their games. They handed their engine to the players and said, "Go forth, make what you want." And
Hmm.
they literally gave us a game that was an engine to build games. And Gary's Mod was the original. We had things like Terrorist Town, the original Spy Hunt, the original Among Us kind of game. It it's I gotta say there is a lot to be said about the sandbox genre, and I don't think it wouldn't be popular without Minecraft though.
Right.
Minecraft is the pinnacle of
Yeah.
the
I mean,
sandbox.
look at the 2021 success of Valheim. Valheim's a sandbox game. And look how
Yep.
successful that game is. And how many hours have you spent in
And
Valheim over the last
and
year?
not only that, the idea now that we can build a sandbox game that also has a narrative story.
Hmm.
Valheim will have a beginning, middle, and end. They
Hmm.
they plan for it not to be a sandbox, but for it to be an adventure, a actual story, a
Hmm.
full adventure game with combat that will have an ending where your character is done. Your character has finished their quest.
Yeah, and that's super
But it's a
exciting to see.
sandbox.
Yeah, like you can choose to end the story, or you can just stay in your world without progressing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
that's awesome to have that kind of freedom. But
no, I agree.
I'll finish off here with my third genre. I'm gonna combine them into one sports slash racing, and and it's because of how much time I spent back in the day playing a lot of Need for Speed growing up. A lot of Need for Speed or Midnight Club. Midnight Club was my shit. And then playing Madden or NFL 2K back in the day when that was a thing. I remember playing up and could never beat my dad in these football games as a kid growing up. And I eventually got to the point where I was really good at fucking video games. So guess who got really good at Madden or whatever game we were playing? I did.
Yeah.
Started beating his ass, and he was like, "I don't even play this shit no more." Like, like I have a lot of memories in sports games, but probably my most impactful game is probably, I would probably say Need for Speed. Need for Speed got me into cars because back in the day, I used to really enjoy drawing cars. I love drawing cars, and that was like my first dream job. Of I want to grow up and design cars. That's what I want to do. And I used to draw them all the time. I loved the Fast and Furious movies. I used to get hype. Used to collect cars like Matchboxes or whatever, and it was just something I really loved. And being able to customize your whenever like Need for Speed Underground. Underground is when it really got me because you can really go and customize your car and do whatever the hell you wanted in that game. Like, and then
Yeah.
now to see it now with Forza Horizon 5, it's a whole nother level. You just amplified my childhood and made that shit real.
Yeah, it almost feels like we've gone too far, and it gets to the point where you're like, wow, there's too much customization,
There
but it's
is.
awesome. I think racing games for me would also have to be one of my top five, but it's not my top three.
Hmm.
I love racing games. I've loved them growing up, whether it was Need for
Oh,
Speed.
I can't forget about my other favorite racing game. I forget how I put it, but I just grabbed it when I was at that Too Many Games. I picked up Star
Yeah,
Wars Pod Racer for the Nintendo
yeah,
64. I played tons of hours into that game, and I was just like, yeah, I gotta buy that. It was cheap. It was like $10. I was like, give me that.
yeah. No, Star Wars Pod Racer for me was a classic. We played that for hours and hours and hours and hours. We would literally hang out for entire weekends just to play
Yeah.
Pod Racer. No, I think the real success for the sports and racing really comes from the success of the racing game genre. And many other games spawn from that. We don't have even games like GTA, for example. It's not a racing game, but they include racing. That's one of the biggest sellers for them, is just building tracks in it for players on
But they
on
have that.
GTA.
But where did they get that from? Midnight Club, because Midnight Club was Rockstar. They just took
Yep.
that their assets basically and transitioned them
Yep.
over to GTA.
Exactly. And I don't think we would have any GTA or open world first person game, without the advent of the racing simulation.
And think about all the like Mario Kart, the gravity vehicles, like all the futuristic racing games. Like there was spawned all kinds of racing games, all because
We
of like
had
singular like NASCAR. NASCAR was like probably one of the first racing games because it was easy. Make like four left turns.
And not only that, we had things like Mario Kart was one of the originals, and
Hmm.
that was, we had F-Zero, Mario Kart. These are, everyone, doesn't matter who you are, everyone likes driving fast cars.
Yeah, it's incredible for sure. But what's your last one, man? What's your third
So
genre
for the
game?
last one for me, it definitely had to be a tight race for between platformer, adventure, turn-based strategy. So for me, I would have to say my third favorite would be turn-based strategy.
Okay.
And more specifically, the best turn-based strategy game I've ever played is Final Fantasy Tactics. We can also include Pokemon in here, but I think Pokemon doesn't hold a torch to things like Final Fantasy Tactics for
Hmm.
me. This is a game I spent hundreds of hours on the Game Boy Advance. I hundreds of hours. I played it in the car, sitting there from telephone pole to telephone pole, trying to look at the game when you had light. It To me, the turn-based strategy game, and more specifically strategy games in general, has been the core of who I am as a person. It's the ability to make decisions and impact, something, just to watch a simulation run.
Right. And just to rechat here, what Laser Lure said is he mentioned the wheel and pedal set. It was crazy. We were me and Lauren were talking or watching the Xbox documentary, and it got brought up about the racing games and stuff like that. And she was like, "Yeah, me and my cousin used to grow up. We had the steering wheel and the pedals, and she has memories. And she don't even play video games, but she has one specific memory
Mhm.
with her cousins playing those kind of games. Like that's the kind of impact racing games because they include everybody. They're
Yeah,
not hard per se. Like you can put it on easy and you can race and have fun. Like you're not gonna do terrible in it, and it's just like you can have fun regardless. So that was
yeah,
awesome to see back then. But yeah, I definitely agree with the strategy games. Strategy games have an impact, and it's crazy to see that the progression. Even just look at Age of Empires recently. Like I remember like watching the documentary series. They were talking about the original Age of Empires, and I was just like, man, that looks awful. Now it
yeah,
does, but it didn't at
yeah.
that time. That looked really great at that time. And then
It
now
was an
to
amazing thing
and
at
to
the
see
time.
where it's at now, and I'm like, holy shit! Just watching the
No, I
evolution
agree.
of games is incredible.
It is. And so I think, I gotta say, strategy games has been one of my favorites of all time. It's pervasive. It's in every genre. You can get crosses from everything. And like people talk about Civilization, as Laser Lord's saying here. It's Civilization. The meme, just one more turn. I only need one more turn. 5 hours later, one more turn. you know they're addictive and they're fun, and it's always challenging. It makes you think, and I that's what I like about them. Yeah, puzzle games exist, but I think turn-based strategies are a puzzle plus one. They're
Right, because you have
the
to
next
plan
level of
ahead,
puzzle game.
but also like you just got to think about what they're gonna do, and then like plan around it, and maybe think
it's
two
it's
steps ahead.
chess with extra rules.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. And then they always say gaming was bad. Pfft, okay, come play the strategy game and let me know.
yeah, reading is very important to people, but so is video games. I think at this point there is no valid thought between video games being bad for you and it's like the same thing with books. Well, reading too much is bad for you as well. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's awesome to see, there are so many different genres of gaming, and each person has their own taste, but you can always look at a game genre and go, yeah, I played a few games out of that and really liked.
Hmm.
So thank you again for chiming in and including your opinions. I really enjoyed it, Laser. Thank you for letting us know your top three.
Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, Roger, any last comments or remarks before we close out the episode?
I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight to view the podcast. We're going to be playing Valorant here shortly. You can catch me on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/lunatic_oblivion. And you can catch Vic here at the Never Chill, at the Chill Zone podcast.
Yes, sir. Definitely, like Roger said, I want to thank everybody who did check us out live today. Anybody who just check us out later on YouTube, we definitely greatly appreciate it. We're continuing to grow and grow, and 2022 is going to be a great, awesome year for us here over at the Chill Zone, and we got a lot of content in store for you guys. But definitely want to thank you again. But Roger, where can we find you? One more time, plug that in.
Twitch.tv/lunatic_oblivion. My name is below.
And of course, everyone, check me out at Twitter at Mr. Never Chillin underscore. Xbox is at X Never Space Chillin if you want to game, party up, whatever. Facebook is Vic Brubacher. Questions, concerns, want to come on the show, hit me up there. And not worried about my Twitch right now. I'm just, like I said, continuing to grow this one. Hopefully, we can become an affiliate this year. That's the goal here. But like Roger said, check us out in a little bit here, maybe like 8:30. We'll be streaming some Valorant. But until next time, peace.